This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly entertainment podcast where this week we are looking at upcoming releases including Cloud Atlas, Silent Hill Revelation 3D, and Chasing Mavericks. We're going to have spoiler-free reviews of Argo and Sinister. Our From the Outside In topic this week is going to be the hype factor, things that keep us or make us see movies in the theater. We're going to have the latest in movie and TV news as always, our own trivia and flashback DVD segments, including this week's contest winner. My name is Aaron Peterson. With me today are my fellow hosts, Justin McCumber.
How you doing, Aaron?
Doing great. Brian Williams.
Hey, what's up?
And Scott Clark.
Good evening. How's it going?
Going great. Well, first things first, we got shut down on YouTube again.
Man.
Such a rebel.
This time, apparently, our language or something offended somebody, so,
Fuck them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
I don't remember swearing that much in
It doesn't matter. Apparently, somebody gets sensitive, and I think it's somebody that just doesn't like us. Or you, probably, Scott.
Probably. There's a lot of you. A lot of those people out there.
Yeah.
What review was it for?
Taken to the Streets. That's what I'm going to refer to it anytime I mention that movie. Taken to the Streets.
I didn't speak during that one, so I know it wasn't my fucking fault.
Might be now,
but we do have good news. Well, YouTube, we're on The Hope, YouTube/The Hope Podcast. You can find us there. But the Rocky Horror Picture Show, we actually partnered with Tug Inc. and AMC Theaters, and we're going to put together a screening of the Rocky Horror Picture Show right before Halloween, if you live in the Rockford, Chicago area, at the AMC Showplace 14. So if you're anywhere near that area and you guys want to come out for a good time, it's Tuesday, October 30th. You can go to the website, find details. You got to buy tickets as soon as you can because we have to guarantee a certain number of seats to guarantee the event. So we hope to see a bunch of people there. Brian and Justin will not be present unless they get some really good deals on airfare.
It's a really expensive movie ticket.
It's $10 for everybody else. It's $10.
But, yeah.
Oh yeah, for Justin.
And for Justin and Brian.
But it's worth it.
Some of those college kids should definitely go see it if they've never seen Rocky Horror before.
And you're encouraged to dress up and sing along. So come on, it's going to be a fun time. Movie news. Let's just jump right in. Kevin Hart and Ice Cube are teaming up in Tim Story's Ride Along. It's about a second grade teacher who has to do a ride along from hell with his tough as nails cop overprotective brother-in-law.
I've never heard of this film before, but John Leguizamo's in negotiations to join the cast of it. And when I read the article on it, I was surprised at actually how much I wanted to see it. The description they give is that it's sort of a comedic training day where the story centers on a risk-averse second-grade teacher who plans on marrying the girl of his dreams, but before he can do that, he has to go on a little ride-along with his overprotective future brother-in-law, who's a tough cop. And I can only imagine the kind of comedy that a really nebbish sort of fellow is going to get into with just a balls-out tough cop guy. And I don't know why, but for some reason, just that little description tickled my funny bone in ways that some other comedies haven't yet. So it sounds like a fun little movie, and I look forward to seeing how they all do it and who all gets cast in it.
I think it's been a long time since we had a good buddy, I don't know if cop, but buddy action flick. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They don't make those anymore, not the fun ones. Like Lethal Weapon and even Rush Hour. I'll give you Rush Hour 1 and 2 too. I mean, there used to be all over the place. We don't really get those anymore.
So you sure don't.
They're just going for different color combinations. Like it was black and Asian, now it's black and Latino.
Why is it always race with you, Scotty? Why?
It's always the white guy making those kind of jokes.
I don't know
is Kevin Hart the new Chris Tucker?
I think so.
Loud, funny black guy.
I don't know about that.
You're
making me nervous. I'm afraid the NAACP's going to call us now.
No, I mean it's a fact. I mean it's not trying to be silly here, but I mean he's Chris Tucker, his whole shtick is just loud and in your face, and that's kind of what Kevin Hart is. Just over the top silliness. But I don't know. This movie to me sounds more like a Tom Hanks, John Candy movie from the '80s. But
where's the dog?
I think it sounds interesting. I definitely want to be there to check it out. Lee Daniels is in talks to direct Amy Adams as Janis Joplin. And Get It While You Can. It's a biopic about Janis Joplin.
Obviously, I'm the musician fan here, and I love biopics on musicians. I'm not 100% sold on the idea of Amy Adams as Janis Joplin. She's got a pull off the rough around the edges look a little bit, and the demeanor for that much.
She's a fantastic actress. Man.
She is, but I mean,
well, she can really sing, but she doesn't have that gravelly voice like.
Right, she's
like Joplin had.
The thing with this kind of movie and with any musician movies is, we kind of already know how it ends. I mean, it's obviously based on real life, that kind of thing, so there's not going to be any surprise. But it's going to be a sad ending. I mean, and I kind of want to see.
I don't know how it ends. I don't really know what happened to Janis Joplin.
Oh, you
Didn't
don't?
she die in a plane crash with Richie Valens?
Well, now I know. I don't know what happened to her. Who cares?
Just kidding. That was Buddy Holly. But all right.
That was dumb.
I don't know.
Just because you didn't get it there, ignorant fuck.
No, but seriously, like, how come we can't have any musician biopics with a happy ending? It's always something happens. Look at like Walk the Line and Ray and The Doors. I mean, it's all
because they're always dead before they do them.
That's what I mean. Like, well,
that's what made them good, is they died.
Have you never watched Behind the Music? There is always that descent into shit before they get that final little lift, and then it's usually over.
Yeah.
You can go watch that Justin Bieber movie if you want something current that's happy.
I'm talking about musicians, not
synthesizers.
No, and he actually is a somewhat good musician, but he's more entertainer than musician now. But I think it was interesting though that the director Daniels actually also directed Precious, which got an Oscar nom. So this could be something to look at pretty seriously.
No, he's a good director, and Amy Adams is a great actress. I don't really care much about this story, but it's good quality pedigree.
I mean, she's pretty prominent in the '60s. Kind of just helmed the hippie movement a little bit. She was a big part of that. So
it would be interesting though to see between actors, musicians, and maybe some other artistic types, which ones are percentage-wise more likely to fall into a lifestyle that would lead to a death when you're younger. I would have to imagine it seems like more often than not, musicians do die younger than just about any other artist form. And of course, this is all just kind of going off the top of my head, but I can count a lot more young singers and musicians dying than I can actors or directors or writers or anything like that.
Any of those Hanson kids dead yet?
No,
they're actually. Did you know they're all fathers?
Oh, I didn't know that. Congratulations, Hanson boys.
I thought that oldest one was the lead singer of Nickelback for years.
There was a singer, though, on American Idol a few years ago named Crystal Bowersox, who sang a lot like, she had that same kind of tone Janis Joplin had. And heck, if she could act, I'd almost want to cast her in it. She also has a little bit of the look for a Janis Joplin, too.
That's what I mean. Like, Amy Adams just doesn't look anything like Janis Joplin to me. She'd have to really... There'd be a lot of makeup and a lot of hair.
She's acting, man. You don't have to look like her. Sony's Matt Damon and Neil Blomkamp pick, Elysium, has been upgraded to the August 9th, 2013 slot that its co-produced RoboCop held, which has now been moved to February 7th, 2014. And we've talked about RoboCop a lot in the past and how there's been a little trouble on the set and whatnot. You think they're concerned with the movie?
I don't think it's... this didn't give it... There was really any indication that it was because of any kind of problems on the set. I mean... It really didn't give too much of a reason at all why they were doing it. I'm sure there's some sort of delays, but for the most part, to me, it's not so much bad news about RoboCop as it is good news about Elysium, because I believe they moved it up a little bit, and that means we get it a little bit sooner. So this movie sounds pretty good. I don't know about what you guys think.
It was previewed apparently at a few festivals recently, and it's getting rave reviews. A lot of buzz.
I feel the exact same way about Brian. I actually was thinking about the pushback on RoboCop, but taking that as good news. Like, maybe they're going to polish it up a little bit and...
Have you seen he's got a robo cycle?
I did
He's got like a little RoboCop cycle that he's
doing. Does it
around
pop out of his leg?
Does he make that noise?
Well, maybe like the front leg, or like his right leg, it goes forward and the wheel pops out and his other leg goes back.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
He turns into his own bike.
It looks like... It looks like Batman's, but it's got like some side fenders and stuff. It's a little too flashy.
Yeah. Well, so is RoboCop.
Yeah,
the new RoboCop looks kind of... I hope it looks better.
I like it, but I know a lot of people are hating on that new RoboCop outfit.
You like it?
I do. It has such a more futuristic... This will probably get me plenty of booze, but I never thought RoboCop looked all that interesting. His head was just... a chrome toaster. It never looked good. I never thought he looked futuristic.
I liked the look of him. I just always thought he was the hero version of say, Jason or Michael Myers, where he could just walk slowly everywhere and just pop up in front of the bad guys when a bad guy rounds a corner.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, and that, unbelievable. And I'm using, rabbit ears here. But, yeah, I just kind of always thought, like, wait a minute, this guy can barely move, but yet somehow he's driving cars and he's all of a sudden catching up with these bad guys and stuff. It was just kind of ridiculous. But as far as the look of it, I liked it, but I also liked the new. I mean, I'm fine with the upgrade. So,
well, we'll find out when the movie comes out.
In 2014.
In 2014, yep. Right before Valentine's Day, so you can take your sweetie. Breaking Bad's Aaron Paul has been cast as the lead in DreamWorks' Need for Speed film. Act of Valor Scott Waugh is slated to direct the film, which is being called a 70s-inspired race pick.
Yeah, I like Aaron Paul quite a bit. He stars as Jesse in Breaking Bad, and for anybody who's watched that show, you know exactly who I'm talking about. If I were casting a Need for Speed film, I don't know if he necessarily would have jumped into my mind to cast in the lead, but he definitely has the look of the kind of character they're going for. I like that hopefully they're going for that 70s feel means that they're going to have a lot of muscle cars and not a lot of, sleek modern, Tokyo Drift style cars, but more your Chargers and Challengers, those sorts of cars, just rampaging down streets. A little bit more of the, that Fast Five vibe to it, but with even a little bit more grit. He's a good choice. He's a good actor. And whenever I picture him behind the wheel of a car, just zipping down the road, I can see it easily. So yeah, good choice.
I love those 70s racing movies. Kind of like, the David Carradine Death Race 2000. I know they did the remake of it, which exactly wasn't too much like the first one, but anyway. But Vanishing Point is a cult classic from 71, 72, something like that.
Such a good movie. Yeah,
it is, and even the Herbie the Love Bug movies were good racing movies. But
what?
Love those movies. So yeah, so if it's got that kind of a feel, something anywhere in between those three, then I think this will be fun, and I'm becoming a very big fan of Aaron Paul. His acting ability has definitely kind of improved with every season of Breaking Bad.
Oh, absolutely. I'm less interested in the theme of this movie and more interested in seeing him do something else. I don't want to see him as Jesse. I hope he kind of comes out and does a little bit different role. I just don't want another Tokyo Drift or Fast and the Furious movie. Granted, Fast 5 was awesome. I'll give you that. I just don't want the cheesy vibe that some of the Fast and the Furious sequels gave, but he is so much fun to watch on screen. And Aaron, I know you haven't watched.
I haven't watched it.
Haven't watched it, but he goes full circle on the spectrum as far as acting in that show, and it's really entertaining. I want to see what else he can do because I haven't seen him in anything else.
All right.
Here at my house, we call him Yo Bitch.
We call him Yo Bitch
because he says that a lot.
He does, like just in general conversation, just Yo Bitch.
All right, well, let's go on over to the whole mill, Scotty.
All right. We all like movie news, but every once in a while something is worth mentioning, even if it isn't completely confirmed or just might be an informed rumor. We actually have two this week. The first one is Robert Zemeckis is teasing fans, stating that a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel script is done, and he's waiting for Disney to settle down and give it a go. Do we need it? What do you guys think?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Who Framed Roger Rabbit come out the same year as Aliens?
I think so. Well, I don't know why.
Well, because my memory of seeing Who Framed Roger Rabbit is, for some reason, seeing it around the same time as I saw Aliens. I could be completely wrong on that, but that's the memory I have, and the memory really goes into how much I loved Aliens and couldn't have given a shit less about Roger Rabbit in the face of that other film. So I've never really been one of those people who loved Who Framed Roger Rabbit and bought it and watched it over and over. I saw it once. I'd rather go see some xenomorphs getting shot in half by plasma rifles.
Aliens was 86. Who Framed Roger Rabbit was 88.
Huh. Oh. I don't know why I have those two tied together.
I don't know, but you should see somebody about that. I don't. I think this falls into the category Brian always talks about, where it's too long. It's been too long. I just don't want to see it. I don't care anymore. If you could do something new with the same kind of concept, I'd probably, I'd be interested in that.
But we've had that done though with movies like Toy Story, and even with this Wreck-It Ralph, where part of the fun of the movie is seeing all the little things and the innuendos, the nods to other, whatever the subject matter is. In this Wreck-It Ralph, it's the other video game characters. Mm-hmm. Or in Cars, it's all the different models cars throughout the years or whatever. So it's just, they've done this with all the different classic cartoon characters. There's nothing else to do.
This to me is about as relevant as Space Jam too. I just don't care.
Well, I think it's more about the property being too old, but the concept being old. Granted, Space Jam had live action, but what's the last live action / cartoon movie we had? I think they did a Bugs Bunny remake several years ago.
There are certain movies that work because it's a product of time. This is one of those product of time movies. I just don't care now, and I don't think most audiences care because show us something new or different or update that particular movie, remake it, but don't make a sequel to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, who's going to be Anthony Hopkins or Bob Hoskins going to show up? He's 85?
He's retired.
What's the point?
Yeah, he actually retired recently. So
yeah, just don't do a sequel.
I have a lot of good memories of Roger Rabbit, though. I loved that as a kid, and I've watched it as an adult and still enjoyed it. So
good. Go rewatch it, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's free.
Summit is already looking at continuing the Twilight franchise in either another film or a TV spinoff. The franchise obviously is a cash cow, but is this too much? What do you guys think?
I got nothing to say. It gives a fuck.
Where else are they going to get the idea? Aren't the books done? Are they just going to?
Yes.
I mean, they're going to just spin off and write their own stories?
There is one more little book. It's a spin-off book. It's very, very brief, and it's about, if you saw the last one, I believe, there was a little girl that they were trying to take under their wing, and it's about her short life as a vampire. But you can't make a TV show out of it, a series, or really another movie. I mean, you could make a half-hour short film or something like that about it, but that's about it.
Well, they're going to do it because there's too much money involved. I mean, that's just like Harry Potter. They're going to restart that series at some point. Mm-hmm. They're going to let it cool off for maybe a year or two, and then boom, it's going to start back up.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If it makes money, then no, it's not. It's not too much. We don't have to go see it. I mean,
because it's not like the movies. If the movies were showing an increasing trend of making less and less money with every movie, then you could see it just totally stopping. But I mean, every movie is outdoing the last one. So, I mean, they would be silly to not push the franchise forward. But, I don't know. I think they could do a spinoff with maybe some of the side characters or something. But I'm not a fan of it. But I get it if they decide to move forward with it.
I bet you Taylor Lautner would do whatever it is.
As long as he gets to take his shirt off, he's down.
Yeah, he's good. He's got nothing else going on. But Abduction 2 ain't going to happen.
But the author is, she's done writing it. She's like writing science fiction or something now, isn't she? Or...
Yeah, she doesn't need to write it. All they need is the rights. They'll make stuff up.
There you
go. From what I've heard, the scripts don't really follow perfectly to the books anyway. So just make some stuff up. Just make some vampire look at some werewolf and look mopey. There you go. There's your show. I just wrote your script. You're welcome.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. All right, we have the first look at a remake of a movie that freaked me out as a kid. That movie was Carrie, with a normally creepy-looking Sissy Spacek. This time around, it features Chloe Grace Moretz as Carrie, with Julianne Moore as her mother. And if you aren't familiar with the premise, it's about a girl who lets her newfound telekinetic powers rip after being bullied by her peers. And just a note to any prospective bullies out there, don't drop pig blood on anybody. It could get really bad for you, so find something else to do to them instead. Justin, I know you're our resident prom king, so what'd you think of the trailer?
Like all of these teaser trailers, it's exciting to watch it, yet at the end, totally unfulfilling because I don't get nearly enough of what I want. So I guess in one respect they succeed because they have whet my appetite enough to make me really want to see more. It was okay. I mean, I like that this one seems to have much more of a wide area of impact that the first film didn't. I mean, the first one, spoiler alert, ends with some people getting killed and I think a car flipping over. But, there's really no widespread citywide damage. This one looks to do that, and from what I understand, I haven't read Carrie. I'm a huge King fan. In fact, I just finished rereading Salem's Lot, which is his second book.
It's a fantastic book.
I have yet to read Carrie, and I need to, but apparently from what I understand, Carrie has towards the end of it a lot of that city damage. So this may be, going a lot closer to the book. It's kind of strange seeing Chloe Moretz a bit taller than I've seen her in other films. She definitely looks like she's wrecking some shit, so I want to see it.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of remaking this one, to be honest, because I thought the first one did a really good job, even though they did take it a little different than the book, but it was a really good movie, and they did a really good job of capturing the teenage angst that was part of that story. But the trailer sold me. I really like Chloe Moretz, and she seems to be developing into one hell of an actress, so I'll give it a shot.
I am 100% on board. They did that crappy remake in 2002 that
was a sequel. Carrie 2, The Reckoning or Rising or
No, there was an actual legit remake.
Oh, it was on TV.
It was a TV one, and they actually did some of the ending more closely to the book than the original did, but it just was such a terribly produced movie, and I am really excited to see this. This has a lot of potential to be awesome. That scene of her at the end, it just makes me want to go rewatch the old one. I really hope they amp up the relationship. I know it was already there in the first one, the relationship between her and her mother and her overly religious mother. I hope they really push the envelope with that a little bit.
You would focus on the Jesus thing, wouldn't you?
Because you hated that character in that movie. She just was so, everything she said was just, you just wanted her to shut up. But I'm looking forward to see Julianne Moore in that role too.
Let's see. Carrie opens up on March 15th, 2013. And on December 19th of this year, we find out the inside scoop on how Osama bin Laden was found and killed. Not by the History Channel, National Geographic, or even 60 Minutes, but from Catherine Bigelow, who won 2 Academy Awards for The Hurt Locker. She's gained unprecedented access to information regarding the situation, and we are going to see it on the big screen. Now, it apparently will not only follow the death of bin Laden, but also the 10-year hunt for him. So, Aaron, I know you're kind of you like the political / military type stuff, kind of like I do. How'd this whet your appetite?
Well, we talked about the teaser trailer, which, I think Justin put it best, that there's nothing in it, but I liked it because I'm simple. This one actually shows a lot of what's going on in the movie, and it's really about the steps up to and the raid on bin Laden and the capture / murder of him. I really like it. I think this is my kind of movie. It's very political. It's very charged. It's very much a thriller, and it seems like they're shooting it in terms of it's a military strategy thriller instead of this is just current politics, blah 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 blah, which will bore most people. I think they're actually making it into much like Argo is, which we're going to get into in a little bit. They made it into more of a thriller versus just a political movie. So I really want to see it, but I wanted to see it since day one. So.
I think the trailer was a lot more interesting than the first one, but I'm just still not super excited for it.
You don't really like politics, though.
I know, and I'll be the first to admit it.
If they were singing, during the assassination, would that?
That would be so awesome.
That would be pretty fun.
The SEALs dive in, do the shoulder roll, and they stand up and just start snapping and singing a song.
Oklahoma.
I feel pretty.
Fuck, why aren't they making that movie?
Make that happen.
All right, well, tell us what you want to hear. Follow us on Twitter at @H_outsider. Find us under The Hollywood Outsider on MySpace. Just kidding. Just see if you're listening. Go to facebook.com /The Hollywood Outsider and click the like button. And, of course, if you have a lot to say, our email is feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And don't forget, you can get your I'm a Ho t-shirts at thehollywoodoutsiders.com.
Stump the Ho.
Stump the Ho. Each week, one of our hosts poses a trivia question to the remaining hosts in an attempt to stump their fellow hoes. Ho meaning Hollywood Outsider. This week, it is Scotty's turn. What's your question, Scotty?
All right. This one might be relatively easy.
That's what we like.
There's only one actor in Oscar history. I figured you'd like this one. One actor in Oscar history that's been nominated for 2 posthumous Academy Awards, which means that he was nominated
posthumous.
Posthumous.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies for mispronouncing the word.
No problem, Aaron.
For 2 posthumous Academy Awards, which, for those that don't know how the word means, that it was awarded to them after they were deceased. Who was the actor? Was it A, Gene Eagles, B, Spencer Tracy, C, Peter Finch, or D, James Dean?
I'm going to go with Spencer Tracy.
Okay, Aaron says Spencer Tracy.
I'll say Tracy also.
Okay.
Justin?
Fuck it. Spencer Tracy. We're going down together, or we're riding high together.
Clean sweep, Spencer Tracy.
All right, well, we'll learn the answer a little later in the show, so stick around. Now let's go to the big screen. Now it's time to review the two big releases, Argo and Sinister. We're going to start with Argo first, and Scott, why don't you tell us what it's about?
All right, Argo is based on true events that took place during the Iranian hostage crisis that took place between 1979 and 1981. For those that aren't familiar, during that time, 52 Americans were held hostage at the American Embassy in Iran. 6 of those hostages, however, were able to flee the building and take refuge in the Canadian ambassador's home. Ben Affleck not only directs this film, but also stars as Tony Mendez, the CIA exfiltration expert who is tasked with the rescue of these 6 Americans. He devises what Bryan Cranston's Jack O'Donnell calls the best bad idea we have, by creating a phony Canadian film project that is to be filmed in Iran. The idea is that Mendez will fly to Iran alone and return to Canada with the 6 hostages in tow as his film crew for the science fiction film called Argo, which doesn't actually exist. The scheme is elaborate, as fake storyboards, posters, and even a script are all manufactured with precise detail in order to leave no loose ends in the story as Mendez and his CIA attempt to follow through with their plan. So, Aaron, you and I are the only ones that saw this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this story? Obviously it's based on a true story, so.
I think Affleck and his screenwriters did really well. I think they made a political film feel very non-political, even though this is based on a true story. It never really felt any different than any other kind of thriller.
Mm-hmm.
The story is very straightforward. The movie portion that I thought, if you watch the trailer, and I think, Justin, and this was really a sticking point with you, I think, that the movie portion where they're getting together with directors and producers trying to put together a fake movie seemed very much like it was going to be satire, and it's not. It's really played very straight. I think the trailer kind of misleads you in that way, where you think you're getting a little bit of Get Shorty or something, and it's really not. It's played very straight, very much, this is serious business, we're doing it for this reason. They are funny characters, or amusing characters, but the situation isn't funny. It's just they're funny people, or clever people, witty people, whatever. So I really liked the story. I thought the way that they handled it and didn't make it political, so that anybody could go see the movie and not care what happened with that whole crisis and still get into the story. That's very impressive to me. That's really hard to do with this kind of movie.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I think it could have made a great story even if it weren't based on a real story. We talk about like when you immediately see that on the screen that this is based on true events or whatever, we're instantly like, oh, this is really cool. But even if that wouldn't have been there, I would have enjoyed this immensely. The story was really great.
It's a political movie that's not made for political people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was just the right amount of humor, like you said. It wasn't over the top. Like the trailer was a little misleading because it had such a tonal shift all the way through the trailer between, is this supposed to be a comedy? Is this supposed to be a serious movie? Is this supposed to be an action movie? You don't really know. And when you see the movie and see that it's just the perfect amount of each, I think. And I thought that was really well done. What about the acting? Did you like...
I thought Ben Affleck's no longer a joke in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably do Geely 2 if he directed it, and I think it might be actually decent.
Or Reindeer Games, the sequel?
Oh, I hope so. I really want that to happen. Charlize Theron was just gorgeous. I admire him for putting himself front and center in the film. Normally when somebody is directing a movie and they put themselves in front of the camera, one of the two falters. Clint Eastwood's one of the few guys I think that really gets how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Affleck is another guy. He's impressing the hell out of me. He's become an actor I didn't think he would ever be. From anything I've seen in the past, he just never impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
He's never impressed me as a dramatic actor. He's always been, okay, stick him in a generic action flick and he can probably carry it. Put him in some witty comedy and he can probably handle that, playing off somebody. But he's just never been a strong dramatic actor. And I think he's really took that to heart and made himself better.
See, I feel a little bit different. I think I've liked him in the past a little bit better than you. I didn't look at him as like a AAA actor until now. Well, actually, maybe with The Town, he started to really making me look at him. I liked him a little bit better, but he's really just delivered this. His Mendez, he pulled it off. He's a guy who risked his life to fly into Iran to save these people, and he had his own stuff going on too. I mean, you really felt felt what he had going on and felt his desire and need to get in there and rescue these people. He was awesome. How'd you like Bryan Cranston?
I thought he was okay. Everybody raves about him on Breaking Bad, and I haven't seen Breaking Bad. He's won like 47 Emmys, even though it's only been on 4 or 5 years. But the guy obviously can act. But anything I've seen him in that's been a movie where he's taken a supporting role never impressed me. Mm-hmm. He's just been okay at best. I thought he was better than okay in this, and he finally showed me a little something that I haven't seen out of him. But he still didn't impress out. I mean, I thought he was average. I haven't seen what everybody else keeps seeing. I'm sure he's great on the show, but for whatever reason, the roles he's taken are just good enough.
He's actually not even the best actor on Breaking Bad. He's awesome, don't get me wrong, but I think it's more. I think he gets a lot of the credit for his acting with what's going on in the story and what happens.
I get that.
But he actually did have a little bit of Walter White in him in this character in Argo, which to me was completely welcome. But nothing that blow your socks off. Awesome. So
Alan Arkin and John Goodman. Those are the two that I was really impressed with. I think they give two of the best performances of their careers. Alan Arkin I like in anything. The guy is just funny. And the hostages do a really good job. I don't know all of their names, but they did a pretty good job of coming across as a bunch of self-serving scaredy cats, as far as I'm concerned. And then, they all pulled together and, they tried to learn their part to possibly get out of Iran. And they did a really good job. And I really loved seeing Victor Garber. Big fan of Alias. I know that Ben Affleck's wife is actually huge friends with Victor Garber, which is why he's in the movie. But he plays a Canadian ambassador. Mm-hmm. Just love him. He's one of those guys I wish was in more movies because he's a really good actor, and he just does not get the parts. But what do you think about the production of it, the directing? And
I felt this is the first movie I've seen in a long time where I really felt like I was looking through a window and seeing into a different time period. This, obviously took place in the late 70s, early 80s. The costumes felt like what you see in the pictures and old videos, that kind of thing. When they show at the very end, you kind of see the actual passports of some of the hostages, and they show what they look like. They really pulled that off and made them look. Mm-hmm. They got actors that looked very similar and got the costumes and stuff. That was very, very impressive to me.
Yeah, it was very clever. At the end, they actually show the real people next to the actors. That was pretty impressive.
So I think a lot of the direction was really good too, as far as the cuts. We talked a little bit last week about Taken 2, which you can't hear on our YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. But we talked about how some of those there was a lot of quick cuts in that hid some of the action. And while this isn't an action movie, the cuts in this made everything seem so tense. It was some of the most tense moments I've seen, and we've talked about it with other horror movies, and as far as building tension, and that's what this movie did. Mm-hmm. I felt more squirmy in my seat and tapping my toe, that kind of thing. From when there was no action, there was no boo scares. It was the drama and the acting was there, and a lot of that had to do with the direction. It just really made it one of the most tense movies I've seen in a really long time.
I think Affleck's finally proved he's a real deal. The guy's a real deal. When he directs it very. He doesn't direct like a showy award piece. You know what I mean? He's directing a tense thriller with a smart script, strong performances. He's keeping. I don't know what the budget on this is, but he directs it like it's a small movie. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like a small movie. It seems like a very big budget movie, but he directs it in a way that's very tight. He doesn't have a lot of excessive stuff in it. He doesn't have a lot of plot that isn't necessary. A lot of story that isn't necessary to the plot. I mean, it seems like he makes sure that the movie keeps going in a crisp clip, and it's just the way he directed this, and this is the kind of director you want for this kind of movie. He made it a real tense, taut thriller. I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm.
So what's your final verdict?
Oh, by the way, I really want somebody to give him a franchise now. I don't care what the franchise is, but I'd like to see him take on something, a really big budget, some kind of maybe franchise property, and see what he would do with that kind of
movie
property.
Or TV or
no movie. No, I want to see
Justice League, bitch.
No, whatever it is, something along those lines. I just want to see him tackle a huge property because I think I'm convinced now he can do it. I'm convinced. My verdict: clever, witty, taut, tense, on the edge of my seat most of the time. It's one of the stronger films of the year. I'd actually rate it a little bit higher, but I'm not sure how it rates on replayability. I think I'd probably watch it one more time, and it's a great little thriller. 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I enjoyed this movie much more than I thought I ever would. We talk about this pretty much every show. I'm the biggest hater of politics and political movies, and
Jesus, apparently.
I loved nearly every minute of this movie. I was instantly grabbed by the time period. It was around the time I was born, which got me a little bit interested because that was going on. Perfect amount of humor, never overbearing, just enough to keep the tone from being completely somber throughout the whole thing. I've spent the last couple of days trying to find something that I didn't like about it. I twinged a little bit about the rewatchability because right walking out of the theater, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever watch this again, but just sitting talking about it, I want to go see it again. And I cannot think of anything that I did not like about this movie. Might be a shocker for you, but I give this a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect movie for me. I loved it.
Hey, it's your movie. You give it whatever you want. Crazy man. All right, now we go to Sinister. This is what Aaron. This is what myself and Justin saw. I like to talk about myself in the third person. Aaron gonna do what Aaron gonna do. Here's what Sinister's about. Ethan Hawke stars as Ellison Oswald. He's a writer who moves in his entire family into this nice new home out in the middle of nowhere. He wants to write a true crime novel. Sounds pretty cool, right? It's about a family in this town who were brutally murdered some years back. And the murders happened in the house he moved into. She's stupid. Well, shortly after moving in, Ellison finds a box filled with a projector and several Super 8 reels of film. So when he starts to watch them, he discovers that the reels contain the murder in this house as well as previous brutal murders that he now has to connect the dots. And when Ellison notices a figure in the reels, he has to find out if this is the work of a single killers or something a little more supernatural. Now, Justin, you love creepy shit. What did you think about the story? Did you like this story? Did you think it was a little bit, what?
I thought it was incredibly predictable. From the trailers and some of the word of mouth, I'd really hoped for something to refresh the horror genre in film, because outside of the found footage movies, there's just really not been anything new to come along in horror to make it exciting or interesting. And I thought this one might be one of those movies that would do it. And for me, it didn't. The story was enjoyable, but I felt like there were some plot gaps or some story gaps that were in it. I was predictable. I saw the ending coming pretty much from about minute 10 into it. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be more than it was, and I was disappointed that it didn't go in new, interesting directions.
I'm not spoiling anything, but this is in the trailers. It's pretty stupid once you realize all of these murders are connected, right? And the box is found in the house you're in, where all these people were killed. And, you don't fucking leave. I hate the logic of that. I mean, granted, at one point, he's watching them and he gets that quick glimpse where he's like, maybe I should call the police. No, this will help my book. At some point, you stop, you have a hard time with this character because you keep thinking, okay, now you're officially an idiot. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you start to buy into it a little bit. Ethan Hawke's actually a good enough actor to sell me on it. I agree with Justin 100%. I really like three-fourths of the story probably. But as soon as it starts getting close to the ending, you already knew exactly how it was going to end when the movie started. And I had a real problem with how they wrapped it up. It was way too predictable. And to explain exactly how and this is a true story, exactly how predictable it is. My wife hates horror movies. She will not go. Right, Justin? She just does not like horror movies.
Mine will not go.
Yeah. So I come home and she asked me how I liked the movie, and I said, well, yeah, it was okay, but I really hated I didn't hate it, but I really didn't like the ending. It really disappointed me because of, how it ends. And then she asked me, oh, does this happen? And she explains exactly what happens in the ending, and all she saw was the trailer. And she got the ending completely. I mean, every detail, not little things. She got the whole damn thing. So what'd you think about the acting? I mean, the acting was a big part of it.
Well, one last story element. I thought the villain of the movie was one of the most wasted villains ever. Unlike Pinhead, unlike Freddy Krueger, unlike Jason, and every other really good horror villain, this guy was almost non-existent in the movie. You barely see him. And in the few times that you do, he doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a reason why he doesn't do anything. If you see the movie, you'll get why. But it's just, I kept waiting for him to become the type of bad guy that as soon as I saw him, I was creeped out and knew bad shit was going to happen. But he just never put off that vibe. And I don't know if it was because his look, he just looked like a Juggalo reject. I didn't know if it was because he never really said anything or did much of anything. I don't know what it was, but he was just a waste of what could have been a pretty cool villain. Acting wise, yeah, I mean, Ethan Hawke does an okay job. I liked that he was playing a character who was a bit off his rocker. He reminded me a tiny little bit of Jack Nicholson's character in The Shining, and that they're both writers who are so consumed with what they're doing that they kind of lose the ability to interact in the real world because they're kind of caught up in the what's going on and what they're studying or what they're writing about. I thought he did okay. Everyone else in this movie was pretty much shit.
I like Juliet Rylance. She played his wife. I thought she was okay.
She was okay, but what wife is going to put up with the crap that she's put up with?
A dumb one?
Especially when a big reveal is made about 3/4 of the way into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cop was like, I don't want to be around for that conversation. Yeah, well, the conversation happened, and it left me completely just, yeah, all right, no wife I know.
It's hard to
would
sympathize.
have forgiven that.
Yeah. There's several child actors that pop up throughout the film because you're watching reels and old family stuff. Every child actor in this movie sucked. Every single one of them. I don't know if they just went... There's a lot of good child actors out there. And apparently they went to wherever these kids are, the good child actors, they drove around those spots and found the spots with the crappy kid actors. The ones that are just...
kids were terrible.
Yeah, weren't they awful?
Ugh.
It's just awful. But there were some amusing cameos. I mean, Fred Dalton Thompson, he actually... used to be on Law and Order.
He was kind of the saving grace of the beginning and the end.
Yeah, he was good. And Vincent D'Onofrio apparently just needed a check so bad he just Skyped in. He doesn't actually show up. He just Skypes.
Well, you barely recognize the guy.
Oh, yeah, he's put on a couple...
he's huge.
He's had a couple cheeseburgers.
And that was one of those characters that I almost kind of wish that they would have taken the story and shown a little bit more of it, but from his perspective, of him researching who this person is and what these symbols mean and blah blah blah. If he and the cop had more of their story fleshed out to show the broader nature of what's going on, and I think they could have brought in some real tension and some scares, but they never did, and I think it's to the film's detriment.
I agree. Scott Derrickson directed it, and I think he does a nice enough job with the atmosphere. But the film works as a thriller. It's not a horror movie. There's really no big scares. It's more of an eerie constant. I kind of like the music. I think it's Christoph Young, whatever it is. I like the music in the film, but production-wise, it's so hard. It could have been directed so much better. You should have got better actors. You should have put this all together a little better so that when it ends, people walk out of there going, "Oh, hell yeah!" Because if they would have just tweaked the ending a little bit, I think it could have worked. Because I really think the first 3/4 of the movie really could have worked a lot better if the ending just wouldn't have been so damn predictable.
Well, if there just would have been more than Ethan Hawke's character being menaced.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one moment where one other character looked kind of menaced. And other than that, it was just him kind of being crazy. Now, there were a few moments where there was some genuine fear. There were a couple of jump scares, which always I kind of feel like they're the cheat scare. That's the easy way of doing it. But a couple of those worked, and then there was a scene where he was looking at some footage of himself, and he sees something that really kind of throws him for a loop, and kind of threw me for a loop too. But other than that, there really just wasn't enough scares. And yeah, you're right. For most of the film, it's a thriller, and not even a thrilling thriller. It's just more of a investigative thriller. Very little in the way of actual fear, drama, menace, any of that stuff.
So what's your verdict?
It's lucky I'm giving it a 5.
Well, I thought it was. I think it's got enough atmosphere in it, and it's enough of a thriller that I liked it enough to where I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. But I want to stress that if you have seen a thriller or horror movie before, you will figure it out, and if you don't, you probably should see a few more because it's not that complicated.
How's the gore factor?
There's really not.
No, okay.
No.
There's one scene.
Well, there's a couple of the murder scenes are actually pretty intense.
Could have been gory, but the camera cuts away way too. And it's an R. So I really don't understand why they didn't focus in on some of those moments where they really could have just shown some blood, some death, some gore, and they pull away from it.
And I will tell you, my audience, at the end, there was several chuckles. That's never a good sign in a horror movie. So, box office, Taken 2 was number one again with $21 million for an $86 million total. Maggie Grace needs to hire some bodyguards because she's going to get took again. Argo opened at $19.4 million. That's a pretty strong opening, actually, for a political thriller, and a lot better than it started off with. So it picked up a lot of steam over the weekend. And it got a rare A+ from CinemaScore. That basically pulls audiences as they leave. Very few movies get that. So this could be pretty good legs. Sinister opened to $18 million, which is really strong, but it got a C+ from CinemaScore, which is not a good score. And plus, I don't know if you heard of this movie, Paranormal Activity 4. It's coming out. I'm pretty sure Sinister's going to go away pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Here Comes the Boom. Landed with a thud. Made 11.8 million. And Seven Psychopaths only made 4.1 million.
All right, folks, we have got 4 films, all of them coming out October 26th. The first one, Chasing Mavericks. This is a biopic co-directed by Curtis Hanson and Michael Apted about the life of an American surfer named Jay Moriarty, who, I'm sorry, I cannot hear that name without thinking Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jay Moriarty is played by Johnny Weston, a younger guy. It chronicles his quest to surf America's most dangerous wave, and Frosty Hessen, played by Gerard Butler, the local legend who takes him under his wing in order to train him to survive it. In the course of Moriarty's training, the two surfers form a unique friendship. Personally, this all sounds wet, but is there something for it in it for you, Mr. Fitness Man Scotty?
No, I couldn't be any less interested in this. We had a surfer movie last year, and that girl had one arm. Yeah, and that wasn't enough to get me into the theater to see it. So
it's like Blue Crush with dudes.
Kind of. Gerard Butler just needs to stick to action flicks and being a badass. I don't know. Not this.
I think it looks kind of cool.
Really?
Kind of a father-son type film. I'm a sucker for those, and even though it's not really his dad, he apparently wants to be, or he wants to diddle him, whatever he wants to do.
Whoa.
They seem pretty close, so I kind of want to see it. I don't think I'll pay $10 to see it, but I'll see it when it hits video.
I mean, who knew Elizabeth Shue was still alive? Because she's in this. But I do want to see it. I love a good I love a good surfing movie. And most of the surfing movies I like, though, are kind of the ones similar to Endless Summer or Step into Liquid, where it's kind of more of a documentary type of feel. They follow somebody around to different surf spots and they find the big waves, that kind of stuff. But I am familiar with the basically the story of how Mavericks is a little bit north of San Francisco. I believe it's a little bit north of San Francisco, and it was these guys stumbled upon it, and it was because everybody thought you got to go to Southern California, you got to go to Hawaii, some of the other places in the South Pacific, that kind of stuff, to find good waves, and they had it in their backyard, didn't even realize it. So it's actually a pretty cool story. This is just, I don't know, I just love it. I love surfing. That's one of the few things I wish I could have learned. Grew up in an area that had it, where I could have learned it as a kid, and I'm for it. So
I can't tell you how funny it is to hear you say with that accent how much you love surfing. I don't know why it's funny, but I'm laughing on the inside.
Surf's up, dude.
Hey, y'all, surf's up. So.
All right. Well, unless these surfers are also part-time bank robbers, I don't give a shit. So there we go.
Good call.
All right. Next up, Fun Size. Now, this is a teen comedy written by Max Warner and is the feature directorial debut of Josh Schwartz. The film's rated PG-13 for crude and suggestive material, partying, and language, becoming the second Nickelodeon film to get the rating. It stars Victoria Justice, Jane Levy, Thomas McDonnell, and Chelsea Handler. I think her name is the only one that I recognize. The character of Ren, played by Victoria Justice, is invited to a Halloween party by her crush, Erin Riley, played by Thomas McDonnell, but she is also ordered by her mother played by Chelsea Handler, to take her oddball little brother Albert with her when she goes out trick-or-treating on Halloween. When she goes to the party instead, she loses her brother and must find him before her mother finds out. So she ends up borrowing a car from some boys, and they team up to find Ren's brother. They end up going through a lot of trouble to find him and go through some crazy shenanigans. Aaron, as a lover of kids yourself, are you ready to engage in some historical hijinks by seeing this?
What? I think it. Actually, I just want to hear you do that whole thing again because that was pretty entertaining. I think it was more. That's more entertaining than this movie's going to be. It looks cute. I'm sure if you're 12, this will probably be fun. I don't want to see this.
Let's not be too harsh, though. Remember, we have a listener who has a kid, and the kid listens with him, and he doesn't want us being crappy to films directed at his demographic.
Okay. Well, this I said if you're 12, you'll probably like it. I just have no desire to see it. And this is my personal opinion. It sounds stupid. I saw this movie. It was called License to Drive, and it had Corey Feldman in it and Corey Haim. I'm good with that. I'll just go back to the old days. I'll watch those old movies.
I felt awkward watching this trailer in the theater.
Did you feel dirty?
Yeah. No. There were so many things that went on in the trailer that I'm like, this is a kid's movie? This is a Nickelodeon movie?
Yeah, it seems like they're pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe when I was in middle school and I would be a rebel for seeing it or something like that.
They need more safe movies for teens to go to, so power to them.
Okay.
Maybe Nickelodeon should open up a new studio, Nick After Dark.
Is that called Nick at Night?
Man. Nick After Dark.
It's the After Dark that sells it as the more
it's risque.
They're doing something
mature.
wrong.
Risque. SpongeBob what?
Right. Except it's a different. Oh,
SpongeBob dropped his pants.
No, a sponge joke, but a whole different show. All right, let's move on. Silent Hill Revelation 3D. This is a horror film written and directed by Michael J. Bassett, based on the video game of Silent Hill 3. So for kids who might get confused, second film based on the third game. Now, Revelation, its plot follows teenager Heather Mason and her father, Christopher Da Silva. They've spent years evading forces of a nature that she doesn't fully recognize. On the eve of her 18th birthday, plagued by nightmares and Christopher's disappearance, she discovers that her presumed identity is false and her life's origins too. This revelation leads her to an alternate dimension in Silent Hill, and she's joined by a boy named Vincent and Rose Da Silva. A cult led by Claudia Wolf and the insane Leonard Wolf holds power over the town. Brian, you're a gamer and a horror movie fan, so is this one on your list to see, or are you going to remain silent on the subject?
I think I'm probably the highest out of the four of us on this movie. I like the first one. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind seeing another movie following up the happenings of Silent Hill. So, I definitely would like to check this out and kind of see some of the 3D stuff, see what they do with the 3D, because they got some really creepy characters in this movie, in this franchise. So
I thought I was in the minority of people that like the original one. Like Brian said, it's not perfect, but I worry that they're going to give it the Resident Evil treatment, and I know you guys are fans of that, but Resident Evil, after the first one, got a little silly for me, and I kind of gave up on it. I just don't want them to go that route because I don't want
Silent Hill needs to be dark.
Exactly. It needs to not be about boo scares, and with the 3D, I don't want to see stuff thrown at my face. It's got to be dark. It's got to be very tonally uncomfortable for me to like it. I don't want them to ruin the idea for me.
I'm hoping that the ash and the fog effect will work really well, creating that depth of field in 3D.
I predict it makes less than $20 million total. Yeah, I think it's a huge flop.
Yeah, I don't think the first film really hit the culture enough that enough people are going to go back and see the second one.
Nope, I don't think so at all. And I think it's coming too close to Sinister's kind of a hit. You got Paranormal Activity 4, and this is a sequel to a movie nobody saw the first time. Mm-hmm. So, nope.
But I do want to see it.
Fair enough.
All right, we're going to move on to our fourth and last film. Cloud Atlas is an epic sci-fi fantasy adventure drama written and directed by Lana and Andy Wachowski and Tom Tykwer. This is adapted from the 2004 novel of the same name by David Mitchell. With a budget of $100 million, a portion of which came from Warner Brothers, but most of the money coming from independent sources, makes Cloud Atlas one of the most expensive independent films of all time. The film was premiered on September 9th at the 37th Toronto International Film Festival, where it received a 10-minute standing ovation.
Wow.
The official synopsis for Cloud Atlas describes the film as an epic story of humankind in which the actions and consequences of our lives impact one another throughout the past, present, and future, as one soul is shaped from a murderer into a savior, and a single act of kindness ripples out for centuries to inspire a revolution. The cast includes Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Hugo Weaving, Keith David, Susan Sarandon, Hugh Grant. I'm going to go ahead and take the lead on this one. I had never heard of the book and I had never heard of the film until that 5-minute trailer came out. And I think I said it then and I'm going to repeat it now. That film went from a complete unknown to probably my most highly anticipated film of the year. Over The Hobbit, over just about anything. It looked spectacular. And my desire to see it just went through the roof. Recently, it was shown at, where was it? It was a film festival. I don't think it was a Toronto one, called Fantastic Fest. And one of the reviewers over at Ain't It Cool News saw it. And I'm going to read you the very last paragraph of his review. And his name is Nordling. When I read this, it confirmed what I think this movie is going to be. He says, Cloud Atlas is a masterpiece. It's one of the finest films I've ever seen, and it fills me with happiness and tears just thinking back on it. It's everything I've always wanted a film to be, and even if others do not take away the same things that I did, it doesn't matter. What I've taken from Cloud Atlas is without any measure a rich experience that I will never forget. The only thing left is for me to share in its glory and beauty with others, and hopefully they'll get from it the same things I took from it. It's an earnest, hopeful, joyous film, and it makes me feel new and so happy to be alive. Wow. I hope you feel the same way when you see it. It looks fucking amazing. I cannot wait to see this film. Is there anybody else on this podcast who even gives a shit about Cloud Atlas?
I am just as eager to see it as you are. I'm shocked, but I am starting to follow suit. I saw that standing ovation, saw some of the reviews that came out of that. I'm there. I'm there on opening day.
I actually had written down here that I was going to have to reserve judgment because I was very confused by what the crap was going on in this movie, in the trailer. But Justin, I think you might have just sold me on this. I am very intrigued.
I'm going to make it a clean sweep. Same thing. I mean, it was this whole thing. I was confused with that teaser, a couple months ago, and it just. I'm so confused with it. I just want to see it. I just, but that's part of the, that's one of the things that I've always said is, just something original. Stop doing the remakes of every quote unquote classic movie from every decade now. Just give me something original. And this is what they're giving us. They're giving us something, from what I can tell, very freaking original. So I'm all in also.
I'll save you some time. It's my pick of the week, Cloud Atlas.
I was going to pick Silent Hill originally, but like I said, Justin sold me. I'm gonna see Cloud Atlas.
Chicken shit.
No,
I'll go with Cloud Atlas also.
Yeah, all right. Let's make it a clean sweep on this one too. Cloud Atlas. I mean, it's one of those films that looks to take a look at the human condition in a way that no other film has done it, and the aspirations that the trailer showed were massive. And I have to applaud anyone who is going to try this hard to tell a story this deep.
But if it turns out to be The Fountain Part 2, I'm going to kick each and every one of you in the nuts.
Yeah, me too. I will find Justin and I'll kick you in the ass right then.
I'm hoping not, but man, that 5-minute trick is spectacular.
That's
but anyway,
sweet.
There you go. That's our 4 movies. October 26th, Chasing Mavericks, Fun Size, Silent Hill, Revelation 3D, and Cloud Atlas.
You can always hear us. Subscribe on iTunes, Zune, Google, listen on your Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or any RSS feed. We're also on RockfordCollegeRadio.com Thursdays from 4 to 6.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or a listener-suggested clip from a movie. If you think you know what the clip is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com or send us a direct message on Twitter at @H_outsider. And we will announce those that got it correct on the air, as well as we will draw a name from those that guessed correctly and send them an official ARHO Hollywood Outsider t-shirt, which you're required by law to wear every time you go to a movie. Last week's answer was from Scott, and it was Grandma's Boy. So, Grandma's Boy. The people that got it correct are Jesse M., Michael W.H., Jaron S., Benjamin M. And the winner is Benjamin M. So, congratulations. You won an ARHO shirt. I will be in touch with you to find out where you live. This week, it's Justin's turn. If you think you know what this clip is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Those that guess correctly, we will correctly. Of those that guess correctly, we will draw from the winners next week for a free Ho shirt. Here's your clip.
Come on. That's a bunch of horse shit. Ain't no Calrissian was a black guy, you know. He got to fly the Millennium Falcon. What's the matter with you?
Who said that?
I did. Lando Calrissian is a positive role model in the realm of science fiction fantasy.
Fuck Lando Calrissian, Uncle Tom, nigga. Always some white boy gotta invoke the Holy Trilogy. Bust this. Those movies are about how the white man keeps the brother man down, even in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay, now let's go to the couch, where we talk about the latest in TV and home video news. Los Carlton Coos is developing The Sixth Gun, described as a supernatural western based on a graphic novel, and TNT is developing Frankenstein, based on the Dean Koontz books.
Yeah, actually, both of these sound pretty good. This Sixth Gun is apparently, I guess it's almost a Lord of the Rings-ish type of deal here, where you have these six mythical guns that are, I guess they possess some sorts of powers or abilities. And when the most powerful and dangerous one shows up in the hands of this little girl named Becky, it kind of opens this big can of supernatural whoop-ass. It's kind of what I'm gathering from it. But the thing that does scare me is that it is NBC. And I can't really see them being able to put as much of an edge on this as, say, maybe FX or AMC, you know, of course, much less than HBO or Showtime, something like that. But but it does sound promising. It sounds like a pretty cool premise. And as far as the Frankenstein stuff, I mean, I haven't read these books, but it sounds pretty good. Also, I guess it's based on the Doctor and the monster. They fight. They think they killed each other. They show up a couple hundred years later in New Orleans, and it just becomes a big battleground for them. So I don't know what it is about New Orleans, but it seems like all the monsters tend to gravitate towards the Big Easy.
I know my mom is a big fan of these books, the Frankenstein books. So she said that the series is actually pretty clever. So I kind of want to see that. The Sixth Gun, it sounds interesting, but like you said, it's NBC. It's hard for me to get wrapped up in that kind of series if I'm afraid it's going to be canceled 5 episodes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not worried about it being canceled so much as kind of taming the story down.
Are you familiar with it?
Well, no, I'm actually not. I read on Oni Press, who's the publisher of the series, I kind of read their description of it, and it sounds like it's a pretty dark set of books. I love the premise, though I have to wonder how long after Supernatural, the TV show on the CW, they have a special gun built by Colt, and that gun has special abilities. I wonder how long before or after that idea popped up on Supernatural that this series came out. I'm not saying they stole the idea, because it takes years for a comic book to get picked up and all that. So I'm sure it's just like great minds thinking alike. But I like that notion. Guns with superpowers. There's a number of them, and the worst one goes missing, and now it's found, and it's a cool thing. But network television is not known for pushing boundaries or going dark. This kind of story sounds like a dark one. I would much rather see something like FX
me too.
handle this.
Me too. You got a better chance of it lasting with lower ratings, too.
Right.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler are going to host this year's Golden Globes.
I had the two of them together. Sounds like a win to me. I think
they're always genius together.
For real. It was a Baby Mama. Was it the movie they did together? That was pretty funny for a comedy, for cheesy comedy. I don't watch the Golden Globes regularly. I think the Oscars is really the only show that I watch regularly every year. This might make me watch the Golden Globes.
You think so?
I think so. Obviously I'm more into film and stuff a little bit more as of late. So, but the two of them on stage consistently for that long, that might push me on the edge. I'm guessing Justin's going to disagree with me, but what do you think, Justin?
No, I think Tina Fey and Amy Poehler both are extremely funny. I remember when they did the whole Sarah Palin interview, Katie Couric. I thought they were hysterical together, and on SNL they worked well, and they're funny outside of that environment. Individually, bringing them back together to do something like this sounds really fun, and I kind of agree with you. This would actually make me think about checking in to watch it.
I like Tina. I think Tina Fey is one of the most brilliant comedic women in the industry. I used to love Amy Poehler. I still think she's funny, but I've seen her just blatantly rip off and steal other people's material. Mm-hmm. So my excitement for her is a bit tainted. So but I love Tina Fey. I think she's just absolutely just brilliant, and I think they're kind of a good mix. They play off each other very well, and I think that'll go really well with the relaxed atmosphere of the Golden Globes.
I'll be honest, Tina Fey is my favorite comedian, period.
Really?
Yeah, comedian, and I mean comedian, like comedian.
Not comedian.
Not comedian, I mean comedian. Tina Fey, to me, is clever, she's witty, she's smart. I just love her comedy. She's sharp and to the point, and says things that a lot of people think that are too afraid to say. And an excellent writer. She's a pretty decent actress too. So
I was gonna say she delivers on the acting front too. Like
Amy Poehler doesn't even have to show up, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care, but because she's there, it's an added bonus because they do play off each other. So I'm okay with that. Now the next part, if you have not seen the Avengers, if you're one of the 4 people on the planet that hasn't seen it, or that Batman nut that refuses to watch it because I only watch Batman.
Don't even bring that shit up, man.
But go fast forward 2 minutes. Agent Coulson is going to be part of the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series. Now, if you're not familiar, he kind of didn't make it all the way through the Avengers. He was busy. He was busy doing other stuff. So something else came up. But he's going to be part of the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series. Justin, almighty Justin, what do you think of that? Heavy sigh.
If they handle it where he's involved in like flashbacks or video diaries or if he's not brought back to life, but he's in there in some other capacity, I got no problem with it. Or if the show's going to be a bit of maybe the first season's a little prequel to the movie, I would be okay with it. I just don't want them bringing him back to life. What's funny, though, is in the article that I read on this, Kevin Feige, who has taken over the Marvel films, he's been producing them since they started. He talks about bringing Coulson. He says he doesn't want to bring it back. He's always wanted this character to be a part of the show, but the fact of the matter is, as much as we love him, now that I'm really running Marvel, I like to keep a type of artistic integrity, which means that we don't stretch the bounds of reality. Mm-hmm. You've got a flying metal suit, you got a green rage monster, and you got fucking Thor. So the bounds of reality have pretty well been stretched to the point of there not being any. A guy coming back from the dead ain't a big stretch considering everything else they've done in these movies. That said, I don't want him coming back from the dead either. I'm curious to see how they'll handle it. The idea of an Avengers TV show based on S.H.I.E.L.D. still seems like a marvelous idea, especially with Joss Whedon directing the pilot and probably serving as an executive producer. I still want to see this so bad.
Me too. I think that pretty much sums it up. I think they're probably going to go the prequel route, which, this series leads up to the events of the movie kind of thing. So if they do that, I'm perfectly fine with it.
They real quick, they could, because Coulson basically was in almost every single movie, or probably in half of them leading up to the Avengers. So they could cut it, like say, I guess it would be a prequel to the Avengers, but they could do it in that time frame between all the other movies.
Yeah, so there's ways to do it, and I'm sure Whedon's come up with something. So
didn't some of the Avengers meet each other in the Avengers movie? How do you do a prequel to that with all of them?
They just would cut all the Avenger people out. This would be about S.H.I.E.L.D. It's not about the Avengers.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Right. Like at the end of, I believe it was the Hawke, he shows up and sees Thor's hammer laying in the desert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, hey, we found it. Show the search for that hammer.
Well, let's see what happens. I'm glad he's come back. I like his character quite a bit. Real quick, a couple shows that we've seen. Justin, you saw ARHO. What did you think of ARHO?
It was good. I really enjoyed it more than I thought that I would. The only thing that threw me is that for those of you who may have watched Smallville, the character of Lex Luthor and the Luthor family have somehow and they explain it in the TV show, but they live in a castle on the show, and the castle they show that thing inside and out quite a bit. So if you watch the show, you are very familiar with that setting. That setting is used as a setting in ARHO, even though it's not. ARHO does not touch on Smallville. The Luthors have nothing to do with it. It's now Oliver Queen's family that owns this place, completely separate. Yet I see that place, I cannot help but think of Smallville. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. But really, this is a much grittier, darker show than Smallville ever was. And the guy that they've got playing Oliver Queen, and forgive me for not remembering his name, he's a pretty good guy. I mean, he is definitely tough. I mean, this guy's a badass. Have you guys ever heard of those salmon ladders?
Yes. Yeah.
This guy does a salmon ladder, of course, shirtless. Dude is ripped. I'm like, oh my God. If I could do that, I would never wear a shirt. I would just salmon ladder all day, let people watch me, because it looks awesome. The guy does a great job. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'll definitely be coming back to watch this one next week.
Okay. I'll be checking that out at some point soon. And
for those who don't know,
yeah.
A salmon ladder is basically these rungs that hang from a ceiling, and you hold the bar, and then using your body, you pop the bar out to lock it into the next one up, and then the next one up. So you're basically shoving this thing up and like out, up, out, up. It looks like you have to be in amazing shape to do it.
It's hard. It
was impressive.
Yeah. The Walking Dead was the other show that we saw. It came back for season 3. Okay. It got huge ratings. I love the show, I really do. But I'm really tired of nothing happening until the final 10 minutes. It seems like it takes 50 minutes before something happens in the show. Am I wrong about that, or is that just me?
I think for me, it's just you.
Fair enough. I still like it. I'm not arguing about it, but it just took forever.
I still haven't watched it. I've got it saved. I just haven't watched it yet. But generally speaking, yes, that seems to be the case for the first couple of seasons. Is there's a whole lot of talking, a whole lot of nothing, and then once it starts to get good, it's over, and then you've got to wait till the next week.
In that, there's fuck. I don't even know where to start with this one.
I say, boy.
There's a lot going on.
Foghorn and Leghorn on us there, Justin.
There's a lot going on in this episode from beginning to end. Now, there's not a lot of, skulking through the dark kind of scares going on, but they're killing zombies pretty well constantly through the whole show, and they seem like they've really upped the blood, because these zombies are just getting shit jabbed through their head, bashed into their head. It seems like it's even gorier.
Yeah, there's a lot of headshots. This
episode. I didn't find myself bored at any single moment. I wish there'd have been a little more of the new character, Michonne. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of her. I think they've only got one scene in the show. The rest of it is about Rick and the crew and, finding this prison, which you see at the end of the second season. But they pretty well are keeping things going through the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, at the end of it, it definitely ramps up. But I didn't think it was boredom leading up to that. I was pretty well loving it the whole way through, but man, that ending is fucking insane.
I didn't think boring. I mean, I was interested in what the characters were doing, but it was just nothing really happens. And it seems, it was starting to get to the point where I'm getting close to boredom. And Lori and Carl, I want Lori to die.
No, what are you? Bite your tongue.
As soon as humanly possible. I know she's pregnant. I want the baby to eat herself out and then eat her face. I just want her gone. And Carl, somebody shoot that kid, because he's just annoying. I just can't stand him. Everybody else I love. I just don't like those two. You like Lori?
Lori, they need to keep around so that what happens in the comic book will happen.
I don't know what happens in the comic. All I know is the actress is annoying the shit out of me.
I gotta agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
she's not. I just want that character to have the same as the comic book, and I'm not gonna say what it is because it would be spoiling shit.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, don't spoil that. But up to this point, as far as the TV show itself, I want her to die a gruesome death about 12 times over.
Yes.
But it was good. The ending, my wife and I both were like, no, you don't end it there. It was awesome.
And it all should be worth noting that the show had huge ratings. It's the #1 cable series premiere in history. Let's go to DVD and Blu-ray, Scott.
We are looking at the week of October 23rd. So we've got 4 releases this week. As always, well, actually, as of this week, you can check out our reviews of 2 of the 4 movies we're going to be reviewing on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/TheHo Podcast. The first one we've got is Magic Mike. It's Mr. Lawbreaker himself, Matthew McConaughey.
Lawbreakers out there.
He teams up with Channing Tatum on this comedy/drama based on the male stripper industry. Surefire way to get your leader revved up for the evening without having to leave your brain at the door. You can hear mine and Aaron's reviews on episode 49. One you won't find a review of from us is Medea's Witness Protection. This is yet another Medea movie. In this one, a Wall Street investment banker who has been set up as the linchpin of his company's mob-backed Ponzi scheme is relocated with his family to Aunt Medea's southern home. In the next one, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is exactly what it sounds like. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, discovers vampires are planning to take over the United States. He makes it his mission to eliminate them. Aaron and Brian both reviewed that one on episode 48. Finally, we've got Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. This stars Steve Carell as well as Keira Knightley. The story is as an asteroid nears Earth, a man finds himself alone after his wife leaves in a panic. He decides to take a road trip to reunite with his high school sweetheart. Accompanying him is a neighbor who inadvertently puts a wrench in his plans.
Ooh, yeah. Hit me with that unknown shit. Flashback.
With that, we'll move on to our flashback DVD or Blu-ray segment. This is where each week one of our hosts recommends a little-known or obscure film that we hope you will give a chance, and hopefully the rest of our hosts will give a chance as well if they haven't seen it. This week, it is Aaron's turn. Aaron, what do you have for us?
Okay, and normally I describe these myself, but because it's kind of complicated, I'm going to actually read the description. It's 4 interwoven stories that occur on Halloween. It's an everyday high school principal. We find out he has a secret life as a serial killer. A college virgin might have just met the one guy for her. A group of teenagers pull a mean prank. And a woman who loathes the night has to contend with her holiday-obsessed husband. The movie's called Trick or Treat. It came out a few years ago. It's a real small independent horror flick, and I'm bringing it up because it's Halloween time. The movie itself is very much an anthology, kind of like a creep show or something along those lines, where all the stories tie in one way or another at the end. Anna Paquin's in it, Brian Cox, Dylan Baker. There's a lot of good people. It's directed by Michael Dougherty. It's a good little movie. It never hit the theaters. It was actually a limited release. Did not actually, I think, air in any theaters. The limited release was just like video on demand, that kind of thing, and just went straight to DVD. It's a really good little Halloween flick. It's not great, but it's a good little flick, and it's something new if you haven't seen it. There's several different kinds of stories. They all have different little twists. It's just one you should check out. If you're looking for something new for Halloween that you haven't seen, maybe you haven't heard of, this is a good little flick to watch if you haven't seen it. Anybody else ever seen Trick or Treat?
No, I haven't.
Well, then it's a great one to recommend, isn't it? Go check it out.
It is. I will.
All right. Now let's move on to Stump the Hoe Answer. Scott, what was the question again?
Only one actor in Oscar history has been nominated for 2 posthumous Academy Awards. Who was the actor? The choices were A, Gene Eagles, B, Spencer Tracy, C, Peter Finch, or D, James Dean. All 3 of you chose Spencer Tracy. The answer was actually James Dean. He was nominated for East of Eden.
Aaron fucks me again.
Mm-hmm.
East of Eden in 1955 and Giant in 1956, and he died on September 30th of 1955.
This week on our From the Outside In topic, where each week we talk about a topic on ours or listeners' minds, we're going to talk about the hype factor. We've talked about this in another way a little over a year ago, so let's revisit this and throw a few more things in the mix. What kind of things either ruin a movie experience or make you surprised by how much you enjoyed a movie? Like, say, box office numbers, negative, positive buzz, viewer feedback, whatever the case may be. What kind of things affect your viewing of a movie? Justin, why don't you go first? I know you had some thoughts.
It's odd that I quite often find myself rooting for films that start getting a lot of negative buzz. For some reason in our culture, it seems to be the opposite for a lot of people, that as soon as something gets a lot of positive press, people, it's like they take a great deal of enjoyment out of shitting on stuff, or they want to somehow put themselves up as being smarter or more discerning than other people, and so they take great delight in saying how crappy something that's much beloved is. I don't like doing that. I much prefer to find that underdog and give it love that maybe other people aren't. Yeah, there's films like Speed Racer that a lot of people either didn't like or just didn't see. But I think it's probably one of the most visually exciting and just fun films I've ever seen. So usually when I hear people just being that comic book store guy type of person, their nose a little up in the air and trying to act like they're a little smarter than the rest of us, that's going to make me love a movie probably more than I would have otherwise.
I get that. If it's something I really want to see, I don't care what critics say. I just don't care. I'll give it a shot. A lot of genre films, like Justin's, I think, talking about, they don't get strong reviews. Horror, for instance, one of my favorite genres. Very rarely does a horror movie get a good review, and I can name tons of horror movies that are fantastic. Little independent cult flicks that are just either too violent or definitely not mainstream. They get bad reviews just because critics, they're not into it because they're too, hello, my name is the critic, that kind of thing. Snobs. There's a lot of stuff also like Big Trouble in Little China. That is not a movie that critics are going to. That is a movie made for people like me, and McCumber and Brian and Scott, not people like Roger Ebert. Right. It's just the way that those kind of movies are made, and I don't care what critics say on those kinds of films. Now, if it's an art piece, I'll probably have a little bit more stock in what a critic says, and what the buzz is and whatnot. But I really have a hard time with internet buzz because it seems like fanboys get worked up over some stupid shit. Very rarely does it seem to transpire. I mean, you've got recent ones like Avengers and Batman and stuff where it actually panned out, but there's so many cases of, all the geeks are talking about that, and then you go see it and it's like, really? That was it? I don't pay much stock in that. I kind of wait and see if it's something that interests me, and then I'll go see it or not see it.
I think for me the biggest one is that unfortunately affects my viewing experience is more of a character flaw on my part, because it's when I go and see a movie with somebody that either loves the movie too much or just absolutely hates it. I always let that affect my experience of it. I used to have a friend that no matter what we saw, every movie was okay. It was okay, and it's so frustrating for me because I'm sitting there, I'm having a pretty good time, and then I feel, well, I must be stupid if I don't like, if I like this movie kind of thing.
Really?
I like I told you, it's a character flaw, and
it sure is. You should talk to somebody about that.
But like I said, I do enjoy movies a lot more when the person next to me is having as much fun as I am. Argo is an example. Might be, I took my wife to see it, and she absolutely loved it. It's the most fun I've had her seen in a movie in a long time. Mm-hmm. That probably affected my score a lot. I think that when other people talk about it before the movie also kind of affects it. If I get a lot of positive buzz, I'm overhyped for it, or if people say that this is really terrible and I go into it with lower expectations and wind up being blown away. I think that's another one for me. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I really don't pay much attention to any kind of buzz before. I don't read any reviews. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So, because I don't want to get a preconceived notion of what's wrong with it or even what's good about it before I go into it myself. I mean, I have my idea of what the movie's about, even probably how it will end, but I still want to experience that fresh as much as I possibly can. And so, but it's not so much what ruins my vision, my viewing the movie itself, but it's really afterwards is what kind of surprises me is like some of these movies like Battleship and John Carter, where everybody that I've talked to that has seen either one of them and they've said nothing but very good stuff about how can it possibly do so horribly in the box office, and then B, how do the critics just hammer it? And in that sense, it kind of back to where Justin's thing, all of a sudden I become that much more of I guess, of an advocate for that movie. And so anybody that I come across that even mentions movies in general, hey, have you seen John Carter? Have you seen Battleship? Go see it, because it's really good.
But on the flip side of that, I think box office kind of works both ways, because even though, we talk about box office every week because we want to, our favorite movies, we want to know if they did, we hope they did well. But it doesn't do anything for me if it doesn't do well or if it does great. If it's a movie I liked it. I don't really care how much money it makes. And it's not going to get me into the theater. By the same token, if it's a good movie, it's still a good movie even if it flops.
Yeah, it doesn't just because it was, I think it should make over $100 million, but yet it only makes $52 million. Mm-hmm. It doesn't lessen my view of it. It's just more of a surprise thing. It doesn't say, well, since a lot of people didn't pay to go see it, then I don't like it as much now because I want to be like everybody else. I still like the movie a lot. It's a surprise thing to like, if, the sense I get, the vibe I get in the theater is that everybody enjoyed this movie. So if they all go out and tell somebody, why is this not doing well?
The sales numbers matter to me only insofar as they affect the possibility of a sequel.
I was just going to say the same thing.
I loved Van Helsing. I'm one of the few people in the world who really dug the shit out of Van Helsing. And I wanted it to do so well because they had talked about spinning off a television show, all sorts of potential things that they could have done with that franchise if it had made money. But because I was like one of the only people in the world who liked it, it was guaranteed that it was not going to get any kind of future love from any studio. It's, Serenity. I wish it had done twice as much box office because there would have been the possibility of another Firefly movie. Mm-hmm. So many movies that I wished would get more life don't, because those sales numbers aren't there. That's as far as I care about box office.
Well, some people actually think that a movie's good just because it opened and made $60 million. That doesn't make a movie good. It doesn't mean you should run out and see it. I actually know people that, well, I didn't want to see whatever it was, but it made X amount of dollars, so it must be good. No, it doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean anything. If you weren't interested before, why the hell would you be interested now? I don't understand that concept. Just because it made a lot of money doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but
it's the same people, though, who say, well, I'm not going to see a movie if it doesn't have a tomato rating of certain percentage. Mm-hmm. They feel like, well, if it's less than 90%, if it's not fresh, then why should I go see it? I can't count the number of quote-unquote rotten films I loved. People should go to movies based more on how much that story appeals to them, not how many critics thought it was good. If I went by the critics, I would have lost out on so many good movie experiences.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I'm sorry, Scotty, I cut you off. I apologize.
That's okay. Have you guys ever had a movie experience ruined by a trailer? Like that showed too much information or kind of misled you on
all
on
of
what
them?
It was? Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
The Notebook. The Notebook tells you everything in that preview.
Was that really that big of a secret?
I never read the book.
Neither me either.
My girlfriend at the time and my mom went to see it. I refused to go see it because I sat there and I told them exactly how that movie would start and end just by watching that 30-second, 1 minute, trailer. And when they came back, they're like, "Oh my God, it was so good, it was so good." And I said, "Well, how right or wrong was I?" And they're like, "You pretty much nailed it."
It happens more than it doesn't, honestly.
Right.
So
I mean, like one example, and I still enjoyed the movie, the most recent Batman, The Dark Knight Rises. In the trailer, they showed the scene at the stadium. Mm-hmm. I went and saw this movie in the IMAX, with the awesome sound and all that kind of stuff. And when that scene happened, I was like, "Yeah, I knew that was happening." I would have loved to have been blown away by that visual.
Well, but we live in the economy where they have to get you in on opening weekend, so they show you some of the cool, biggest shots right off the bat, so you get it in the theater.
But that was the third movie in a series.
It doesn't matter, man.
You don't think so?
Nope,
really?
Not at all. I think that's how you get people in the theater. If you don't make an exciting trailer, I mean, that's what that got people talking. If you don't make it exciting, people aren't going to talk. They aren't going to go see it.
Well, I may have mentioned this one before, but the film Ultraviolet. I loved Equilibrium. And I could not wait for Kurt Wimmer's next movie to come out. And when I saw the trailer for Ultraviolet, it had everything. It was like it was tailor-made to get Justin excited. Vampires, katanas, badass fights, motorcycles, sci-fi technology. This thing was made for me to adore it. I still watch the trailer to this day and go, why wasn't this the movie I saw? Because the movie blew balls. And ever since that movie came out and I drugged my wife to go see it, she has not trusted my movie opinion because I made us go see Ultraviolet. And she hated it so much. I hated it damn near as much. But that trailer is one of the best trailers I think I've ever seen.
I'll be honest. When it comes to hype, really, I'm always more influenced by who's in it and who's behind it. Somebody whose work I like. Those are the movies I rush out to see. It's people whose work I respect, and the people whose work I don't respect. Those are the movies I tend to avoid. It really doesn't matter what people are saying. I will listen if it's something I don't know much about and it's getting a lot of heat behind it. Then I'll take a closer look. But I don't want to see something if I don't really want to see it. And if something doesn't interest me, and then the next week it's a huge box office hit, that doesn't make me more interested. Medea, I don't care about those movies. They don't interest me. I gave it a shot, and it wasn't funny to me. So I just don't get into them.
One thing I really hate, though, is when someone says, well, because everyone else was so hyped on it, I came out disappointed, or it didn't meet the expectations created by other people. That just really drives me up the wall. It's not the film's fault. You went in with this certain set of expectations. Judge a film or anything based on its own merits, not all the bullshit that we bring to it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
As much as I want to see Cloud Atlas, I don't want someone hearing me talk about it come out of it going, that one, fucking Justin, the way he talked it up, I thought it was going to be, have my bloomers blown off. It didn't. So I really hate it. But I could see people doing that, and I really hate it when people say that other expectations weren't met. Well, that's your fucking fault.
So your imitation of our listeners is an angry old man.
My imitation of the sour listeners.
Who wears
I'm
bloomers.
sure there are very few.
Who wears bloomers. Oh, wow. Anybody want to add anything before we wrap up?
I did have something, and as I was going into my voice, I kind of lost it. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's close it up. We do have one email this week. It's from Paul S. First off, great show as always. Really had me laughing this time. What do you mean this time? We don't make you laugh usually? I just got around to listening to the show. It's been a hectic week. I know hoes before bros. I apologize and shan't let it happen again. Also, was I the winner? If so, woohoo. If not, yes, you were. I just hadn't reached out. I try to give it a week before I reach out to somebody just so they have a chance to actually listen to it and hear that they won. I think that's more exciting. And I'm also lazy. There's always next time. Also, Scotty, hopefully you didn't take my email as an attack. I was just giving you a hard time because I enjoyed Looper a lot, and I never saw Pitch Perfect. Who knows? I may enjoy it. Well, keep up the good work, guys.
No, I didn't take it that way at all. I was just explaining how we like movies. So no worries, man. It's all good.
Yeah, and really, who cares if you offended him? He'll walk it off. Let's
put some Windex on it.
I do remember it.
Holy crap, really? We're going to call back to it?
I do remember it. I think it's worthy of a short, quick little bit of discussion.
Okay.
When did you start having those?
Shut the fuck up. Do you guys feel the same way I do, that the idea of that film wasn't made for me is an appropriate opinion?
Why not?
For example, if you are a crotchety old movie reviewer and you go in to see The Avengers or whatever, and you came out hating it because, well, I don't like comic books and I don't like these other types of things, so I think this is a stupid, shitty movie. That movie wasn't fucking made for you. And so I think it's appropriate that some people not like a film. It wasn't made for you, asswipe. So don't give it a negative review just because you got to stick up your ass.
Yeah, if you're a 75-year-old man, then Step Up 3D is not marketed towards you.
Exactly. The movies aren't made for me.
Right.
That's why I don't see them and review them.
Yeah, that's valid.
I have honestly thought for a long time that if you're a film critic, and I realize that some of them work for a paper or an outlet of some sort, and they have to see every movie, but they should tailor those to people whose interests fall in line with that. If you don't like music, like I don't like musicals. Most of them. There's a couple of dark ones that I like. So I don't go and see musicals because I know my review's already skewered before I walk in skewered, whatever you want to say, Justin, before I walk in the door. So I don't want to sour someone on a movie that if they like musicals, they're probably going to love it. Like Pitch Perfect, I have no desire to see it, and I'm not knocking anybody that does, except Scott. I'll knock him all day. But so I'm not going to go see it because it's not something that's going to appeal to me. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to be like, that's a 4 because I hate fun. You know, I don't want to be that guy. So I try to avoid movies that don't appeal to me. And that's how I think most people should. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think people that aren't interested in those topics, especially genre movies, that's a huge one. Because a lot of these pretentious asshole critics will go see genre films that they don't like. They don't like that genre, and they constantly review them, and they constantly give them bad reviews. That's not fair. It's just not fair. You shouldn't be reviewing movies that you know you don't like the context of before you walk in the door.
And I think that's one thing that's cool about what we do. We don't go see every movie. We go see the ones that we want to see. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to go review, what was that kid's movie, Fun Size. None of us are going to go see that.
You probably should, though. Really? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, we're not going to. We don't sit through movies every day in and out and watch ones that we have no interest in seeing. So we're not going to give a poor review to a movie that we're not going to like to begin with.
Life is way too short for that crap. So you feel better, Justin? You got it all out now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stay through the credits for outtakes. Make sure you go to thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Rocky Horror Picture Show, if you live in the Rockford, Chicago area, please get your tickets before Monday because we have to sell X amount pre-orders before we can guarantee the event. And then once it's guaranteed, buy more tickets. Then you can all come. Go to facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Tell your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Zoom, Google Reader. Listen on your Stitcher radio app and give us a thumbs up if you do. Or just any plain old RSS feed. And also Rockford College Radio, Thursdays from 4 to 6. I want to thank each of the podcasters whose contact info is always on the website under host. Brian Williams, thanks for being here, buddy.
All right, my pleasure.
And Brian, who you may not have noticed, has been suffering from a horrible cold. So high five, brother. Good job.
Hey, I'm a team player.
Scott Clark, who also has a cold. So apparently they were making out.
We were.
Yep, through Skype.
Yep.
It's hard to do, but it's possible.
Yeah.
That's a long tongue.
Thanks for being here, Scotty.
Not a problem, man.
Justin McCumber, host of the Dead Robot Society. It's a weekly podcast for aspiring writers, and also a writer himself whose Haywire has published and is available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, and your Kindle or Nook.
And Audible. Don't forget, for those of you like Brian, who like your stories told through the ear holes as opposed to the eye holes.
Well, thanks.
It is available on Audible.
Thanks for being here, Justin, and being the best pimp of yourself I've ever met.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next week, we will be reviewing Paranormal Activity 4. We'll have a new From the Outside In topic and more on the Hollywood Outsider. And actually, if you guys send us an email and suggest a good Halloween topic, we'd kind of like to hear what your idea. What's a great Halloween topic? So send this to us, and we will have a Paranormal Activity spoiler cast coming up in the next week or so. So remember, the next time you go to a theater, from all of us, buy popcorn.
Have you filled one up yet, Justin?
I fill one up all the time. You know, if I've said something or done something to offend, tell me about it. Give me an opportunity to
And by
rectify.
if, he means when I do something.
Right. You're right.
So, what's the email? My email address?
Brian@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. What did he say to her?
I don't know. Let's do it, I think. I don't know.
Please, I didn't know it.
Hey, Molly, what's up?
What?
Who fucking farted?
He's laughing at himself.